Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we're going to be talking about an upcoming cooldown. I know I've been talking about this heat wave that's going to be around until the end of March, but this cooldown is going to be for the beginning of April after that warm-up is all said and done. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now for today's comment of the day, I just recently rewatched Forrest Gump. It's one of my favorite movies ever, so I want to know what movie impacts you the most when you watch it emotionally. Let me know in the comments down below and I'll pick my favorite for tomorrow's video. I absolutely love Forrest Gump. Let me know what you think of that movie. I think it's absolutely amazing. Alright, let's get right into things. So as you can see, this is actually for today, and you can see there's no cooldown in sight for the eastern United States. The west coast maybe, and up there for Montana and North Dakota, and maybe a little bit for New England there, but outside of that, really it's just overall warm. And that's what we've been talking about for about a week now or more. We've been talking about how it's just going to be warm through the end of March. But as we head towards March 29th, and this is at about 8 a.m., you can see there's a little mini cooldown. This is not the big cooldown that we're talking about. And matter of fact, along the eastern seaboard, things look very, very warm at this point. This is at about 8 a.m. on Sunday, March 29th. We're about to move on and take a look at when that little cooldown is going to reach the eastern United States. And then on the frame after that, we're going to start to talk about our big cooldown. Alright, so here's that little cooldown as it reaches more of the eastern United States: Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, some of the Smoky Mountains and Appalachian Mountains there as well. The eastern seaboard as a whole is still a little bit warmer than normal, but this little cooldown is probably going to bring about a good 24-hour window of pretty seasonable temperatures, or a little bit colder than normal. But this is by no means a big cooldown. This is a very miniature cooldown, to say the least. And it's as we head towards March 31st, and that's going to be a Tuesday, and this is at about 2 a.m. We can see that little cooldown reaches New England, and it's really fizzling out by this point. But look up for Montana, North Dakota, and into Canada a little bit. We see a lot of purples and pinks, and that's where we're at about 10 to 28 degrees below average Celsius. So yeah, that's a very big Arctic blast that's sitting up there in Canada, just waiting to dig down. And as we head towards about 8 a.m. on Tuesday, so only about 6 hours later, here we go. That cooldown is really just reaching its way down to the south central United States, all the way down to Texas and Oklahoma by this point. The eastern United States is still holding on to a little bit of warmth on the last day of March there, but that big cooldown is just waiting and waiting to come down and really impact the central and eastern United States. I'm pretty confident in this because it looks like we're going to have a negative NAO. Finally, the teleconnections look to become favorable in the next 5 days or so, and that's really going to lead to a big potential cooldown here to start April. So we're about to move on and take a look at this big cooldown as it really digs down into the central United States and then eventually makes its way all the way to the eastern United States. Alright, so as you can see, this is at about 2 p.m. on Tuesday, March 31st, and it's already taking its hold all the way for the central United States. You can see it reaches actually all the way down into Mexico. This is a very potent Arctic blast here, really making its way pretty far south. But the heart of the cold is up there for Montana and the Dakotas there by this point. But again, still warm kind of in the middle of the day on Tuesday for the eastern United States. And at about 8 p.m. on Wednesday, we're heading towards the end of March. It's still just for the central United States, but it is very much so about to make a big entry into the eastern United States and really impact those of us that are in the eastern half of the United States. You can see the southeast is particularly very warm comparatively to normal, so we're still dealing with that heat wave still lingering there for the southeastern United States by the very end of March 31st. And as we reach about 2 a.m. on April 1st, you can see that we have a very large purple and pink cooldown there, again indicating the 10 to maybe 16 degrees below average in those purplish shades, so very far below normal, and it's just very slowly making its way eastward, and it's really going to expand more than anything, and it's going to last actually a lot longer than you would think. Let's move towards about 2 p.m. on Wednesday, April 1st, and you can see that the deep south is now being heavily impacted by this one, from Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the way down through a lot of the central and some of the I'd say more western or inland eastern United States. The eastern seaboard is still a little bit warmer than normal in some of the mid-Atlantic, but really it's starting to impact the very eastern United States now by this point. Now we're about to move on towards 2 a.m. on Thursday, April 2nd, and we're actually going to look at the actual temperature just so you guys can get an idea of how cold this will actually make it for the low temperatures. Now, real quickly, I do want to show you how cold below normal it's going to be, and then I'm going to show you the actual temperatures here. So now, just a couple days ago, our heart of warmth was in the southeastern United States, and now the heart of the cold air is in the southeastern United States. A little bit there for the Great Lakes as well, but mostly the southeast. In those pinkish shades, that's where we're at about 14 to 18 degrees below average, possibly more. So very far below normal, and the only place still holding on to some of the warmer than normal conditions by this point is actually the northeast. Let's go ahead and look at what those actual temperatures would look like if this was the case. And you can see that for a lot of the Midwest, it's going to be in the 20s, possibly the Northeast in the 30s, maybe upper 30s. Same story for a lot of the Deep South, actually. We see northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia very, very close to upper 30s, maybe lower 40s. So this is going to have a big impact, and I'll tell you guys why. We've seen a lot of these plants budding very, very early. We're seeing spring arrive very, very early. It's going to cause a lot of problems if we go back to kind of a winter-like pattern. That would create a lot of issues, and really, we want to be on the lookout for that. A lot of us have already bought plants, including myself, so just be aware of this temperature pattern. I'm going to keep you guys up to date because I feel like this is particularly an impactful situation here. Now let's go ahead and look at what it would look like by about 2 p.m. on Thursday, April 2nd. And you can see that we still have a lot of purples and pinks lingering there for the eastern United States by this point. But the cool down has actually reached the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast by this point. So it is impacting all of the eastern half of the United States by the time we're at about April 2nd. Now let's go ahead and move towards about 2 a.m. on Friday. And you can see same story, except for New Hampshire and Maine are still trying to hold on to a little bit of the warmth. But overall, the eastern half of the United States, like I said before, is holding on to most of that cold air, particularly the Midwest and the Southeast, Mid-Atlantic regions by this point. Now let's look at the actual temperatures on this frame now, and you can see that we would be in the 20s for a lot of the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast, even some of the Southeast, North Carolina there below 32, maybe the upper 20s. Kentucky, so lots of areas. This is pretty cold for April, guys. This is far below normal temperatures, and typically we're not seeing conditions that are quite this cold this time of year. A lot of us winter lovers are probably hating this because it's kind of like, where was this in February, January, and March? It decided to come so late, and that's been the story for many winters now. It's above normal temperatures in the winter and then below normal temperatures in the summer, and it really just leads to annoying patterns like that. But probably a lot of you are thankful that it wasn't cold in the wintertime. Now we're about to move on and take a look at the tail end of this cool down. We're just going to take a look at when it fizzles out and show you guys when we're expecting this cool down to be all said and done. So on this frame, we're going to be at about 2 p.m. on April 3rd, and you can already see that that cooldown is kind of weakened a little bit. We're not seeing as much of the purples or the deeper blues, and really we're seeing a little bit of yellows trying to reach the southeastern United States. So I think by the time we're at about April 3rd, this is going to be pretty much coming to an end. So it's probably going to be about a 3-day cooldown from about March 31st getting started and then ending on about April 3rd. So I mean, it's a pretty long cooldown, pretty potent one, but we are trying to pinpoint when the end of this is going to be. Now, as we head a little bit further into the future, it's going to become a little less accurate just because we're getting further and further in advance. We have a much clearer vision of what's going to be going on March 31st as opposed to maybe April 3rd. So maybe the cooldown won't really be coming to an end, but likely it will be. Now, at about 2 a.m. on Saturday, April 4th, things are starting to look a little bit cooler for the very eastern quarter of the United States, I would say. Maybe even a warm-up there for the south central United States and into some of the Great Plains, but really, for the most part, this cooldown is coming to an end. We see another one reaching Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado, so possibly one will be coming in after our warm-up after the cooldown, so we'll just have to wait and see for that. Here's the actual temperatures that night. So again, 20s in the Northeast and portions of the Midwest as well for the night of the 3rd through into the 4th. Now, as we reach about 8 p.m. on the 4th, which is going to be Saturday at about 8 p.m., you can see that the cooldown is really coming to an end. The eastern seaboard as a whole is trying to hold on to it, but there's a warm-up right behind it. And by the time we reach about 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 5th, we do see warm temperatures for the eastern United States, which would mean the end for this cooldown overall. All right, for your comment of the day, I asked you guys, what do you think about the severe weather season? Will it be above average or below average? And Red Eating, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, said it will absolutely be above average. So far, it's really setting up for an intense season. And I think I agree. I think that so far how it's gone is a sign that we probably will have an above average severe weather season. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.